Social media manager portfolios. You know you need one, clients are asking for them, but where do you start? Especially when you have little or perhaps no experience, it can be quite overwhelming putting together a social media portfolio that actually lands you clients. And perhaps you feel like you have nothing to show off, but you are wrong. In today's video, I will be sharing step by step what you need to include in your social media manager portfolio. And if you stay all the way till the end, I'm actually sharing a first-hand look into my first social media manager portfolio that would actually land me clients. Hey, my name is Mel and I am a multi-six-figure social media agency owner, and I now help social media managers build a successful social media business. Now, if you're new here or if you're not and you haven't downloaded my free roadmap to becoming a multi-six-figure social media manager, then make sure you head over to the description below where you can download your free roadmap. Now, let's dive right in. Now, the first thing that you want to include in your social media manager portfolio is creative work. Now, of course, social media managers do a lot of creative work, from visuals, sometimes videos, stories, right? If we're looking at Instagram stories, graphics, carousels. So you need to include creative work. Now, let's say you have no clients, right? You still can include creative work. Designs that you have created for a quote unquote, potential client or a pretend client. You need to include the visuals that you can create for clients and showcase your work, right? So this is something that you will have to include. Again, it doesn't need to be your current clients, or they don't even need to be clients. It just has to be your work, okay? Now, I recommend that you have at least 3 to 6 visuals for every content format. So let's say we're talking Instagram, you want to include 3 to 6 different highlights, 3 to 6 carousels, 3 to 6 stories, reel covers, things like that, to give a good variety and showcase your portfolio of work. Now, the second thing you want to include in your social media manager portfolio is insights and data. Now, if you're just starting out, you may not have a ton of data right now, but one thing you will have for sure data on is your own account. Now, if you haven't watched my other video yet, the number 1 mistake thousands of social media managers make, I highly recommend you to watch that. Okay, because in this video, I explain the number 1 mistake social media managers make, and that includes, not working on their own personal brand. Now, if you work on your own brand, you're gonna have a ton of insights. You're gonna be able to experiment, you're gonna be able to grow your own account, the engagement. You can experiment with your own account all you want, and you can use this data in your portfolio. Now, a couple of data points you may want to include are overall insights that you see on Instagram, for example, a 30-day overview, hashtag insights. Perhaps you were able to drive a lot of traffic to your post through hashtags. That is another great insight. Story views, website traffic, all the things that you can get data on are great to include in a portfolio, because it showcases that you have that outside of your creative work, you're also able to provide numbers and, the actual thing that moved the needle for their social media presence. Now, here's a bonus tip when you do include insights, that you can do a before and after. You showcase a client, look, these were the insights before and these were the insights after. The big thing you want to do in your portfolio is give potential clients something tangible to work with that makes them go, okay, I think I will be in good hands with this person. They have a track record. They have shown me what they can do, and it makes them feel confident to work with you. Now, the third thing you want to include in your social media manager portfolio are testimonials. Now, I know what you're thinking. Don't freak out. Even if you have no clients right now, you can still gather testimonials, and I'm about to tell you how. Now, what I did when I first started out is I offered to do free audits for people in return for a testimonial. Now, this is not the only way that you can gather testimonials, right? But it is a very simple way to reach out to people and say, hey, can I give you some social media advice in return for a testimonial? Those are all quick ways to gather positive words about you and your business, and screenshots for you to then include in your portfolio. Of course, you want to ask for permission, but an easy way to do this is even going into a Facebook group and asking people, hey, I am looking for 5 people that want a free social media audit, they want free social media advice. in return for testimonial. Now, I am going to tell you right now, you are going to get those 5 spots filled within the next 5 minutes, okay? So from there on, people will reach out to you. You can set up the audit with them. Perhaps it's a phone consultation, a quick phone consultation, and they will in return leave you a review. This review you can now use not only in your portfolio, but you can show it off on social media, put it on your website, wherever you want, and it's so powerful. Now, let's say you do have current clients, and if you are able to get them on camera, have worked with them for a little bit, then reach out to them and say, hey, would you mind giving me a testimonial? Even better if you can get them to do a video testimonial, because they're so powerful, and actually seeing a person on camera is always good. And bonus tip, it's more powerful to have a screenshot of someone's testimonial versus a written one, because this can always feel like someone can just make it up, they can write fake reviews, etc. So you want to grab those screenshots of, whether you have a Slack conversation with a client, maybe it's an email, or maybe it's on social media itself. Those are great screen grabs to take and then put into your social media manager portfolio under testimonials. Now that you have the 3 parts that you actually need to include in your social media portfolio, I want to give you a look into actually creating and building the social media manager portfolio. So I'm going to go ahead and take you to my desk right now, where we are going to create a portfolio together and give you a look into my exact portfolio that I used when I first started out. Let's go. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and put together the portfolio with all the items I went over in this video. And remember, you can download my portfolio template in the description below so that you can create your portfolio and you don't have to start from scratch. So this is exactly what my portfolio looked like when I first started out, and the things that I included in it, and how you can edit it and put it together. So this portfolio was created in Canva. It's obviously super easy to use, super friendly, and it has frames in there that you can change. So on the first page, of course, is your social media portfolio. You can change your logo, your name, and all of those things. Now on the first page, if you do have clients, actual clients that you work with, then you do want to list a roster. If you can mention your clients. And what I would like to include is the client's name, a little bit of a description about what they do, what industry they're in, so that people have a sense of the type of clients you currently work with. And you can also include a social handle if you'd like, that gives a potential client a chance to actually check out the clients that you work with. So here you can add their logos in there and a little bit of a description in the roster. You can copy and paste this page as many times as you need so that you can add multiple clients. But again, if you do not have clients yet, or a handful of clients, do not worry, because you don't necessarily need this page. You can dive right into the next page as well. So in the next page, as I explained, you want to include your sample content. Now, what I mentioned is that it would be ideal for you to have 3 to 6 visuals per content format. So what I would suggest is, for the sample content, you can add a little note underneath. So it depends what kind of platforms you manage, okay? But for example, this is for Instagram carousels, right? Then you can say these are specifically Instagram carousels, right? So then you can have that for the first page. And then you simply put your visuals in there. Perhaps you create them on Canva itself, so you can easily drag them in here. And then you will copy and paste this as much as you need. And then for the example, the next one, you would say Instagram stories, right? And then you wouldn't necessarily use the squares, because I do know it's like a different layout, but you can go into grid and you can actually use this to turn it into any size. So for Instagram stories, for example, it looks something like this usually, right? So you can do per client, per type of client you had, you can say, okay, I did several story slides. This is what they look like. And then you have 4 visuals of Instagram story slides to show, right? So we have Instagram carousel, Instagram stories. Now, perhaps you created their highlights as well. Instagram highlights. You can either showcase them in this way, but you can also just showcase them as the bubbles that you see in the highlights. For that, I would use these round frames. So then you can say highlights. Now, if you do include highlights in the visuals you created for that, what I would suggest you do is to underneath each design that you made for the highlights, that you showcase what it was for. Maybe this was the about highlight, right? Maybe the next design you have is reviews, services, just so that they know what it was created for. Results, perhaps. Results. You can obviously change this. So we have stories, carousels, Instagram highlights, and then you could do static posts if you want. But you can play around with this as much as you need, and for the types of visuals you've created, okay? Then we go into the data and insights. Now these are some of my the very beginning insights I would get and I would focus on. So for example, here I was focused on ranking my clients in hashtags. So I would take screenshots of that and showcase, hey, we help our clients rank, and they get more visibility that way. That's why we highlighted with the liner. So these are just for hashtags. If you do want to include hashtag insights, but otherwise you can have data and insights like this, for example, for Instagram. Now, what I mentioned earlier too is ideally you have before and after insights. So what you would then do is you would go back to your insights. If you happen to have before and after, that would be ideal. Again, you can use insights from your own profile, right? You do not need to use your actual clients. And then this would be after. And then of course we duplicate that here, just so you can showcase something to your potential client on what you have done, right? And here as well. So now what you can also do if you're pointing out specific numbers on these screenshots is you would look at elements under circle, graphics, and then you can use, for example, I often use this one. You want to make it a bright color so that, you know, it stands out. So that you can say, for example, oh, look, the impressions after were 1305. So that's one way to point it out. Another way is just to use arrows, right? An arrow that kind of points out. You can make this red too. And then you say, for example, we got 17 follows from this specific post. So that was great. And yeah, just to showcase the results you get, right? Then, as I mentioned, testimonials. And again, ideally, they are screenshots of testimonials. They're not written out like this, but it's just to give you an example of what that would look like. And that really wraps up your social media portfolio. That is really all you need to actually send it off to a potential client and convert them into a client. Now, of course, you do want to mention your package and your pricing. It doesn't necessarily need to be inside the portfolio, okay? While you can add them in there as a page with the exact layout of the packages, personally is something I like to include in the email itself and give them a breakdown. But this is what it would look like when you send it off to a client. I hope you found this helpful. Again, you can download this exact template in the description below, and I look forward to talking to you in my next video.